Hello, hello, my friends. AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink. Welcome back to my face and my card making space and more holiday cards. For those that might have missed it or not been aware, this year on or around, always that disclaimer, the 25th of each month, I have been posting a holiday card video building up my stash for this year's holidays. Saving me a lot of stress, and I'm really enjoying it. So, like I said, on or around the 25th of each month, because my life is chaos. Also, July was just a free-for-all. I've done at least a couple holiday card videos this month already, because Christmas in July releases, things like that. I have a playlist. It will be linked in the end screen at the very end of this video, and then I'll just keep adding to it, each month as I get things posted, and then we will dive in hard later this year as the holiday releases start coming out, because I'm sure they'll be fabulous. Anyway, I'm using some of the new CZ Design and Simon Says Stamp products. These were actually part of a kit and class that Kathy Zielski did with Simon Says Stamp. The kit sold out I just shockingly quickly. It was crazy. However, all the products are available and I will have links to them. The class, if you missed it, I'm sure was fabulous. I have not had a chance yet to catch up on it, but I'll post a link to the video because all of the virtual classes that Simon Says Stamp has done this year, you can go back, rewatch over and over again. So tons of ideas and inspiration and just really good. So I'll put a link to that as well. And yeah, everything I used will be listed and linked in the description box below the video. My links are affiliate links. That just means that if you click on one of my links and end up ordering something, I do get a little kickback from that at no extra cost to you. That is what helps keep the lights on, pays the bills, enables me to keep bringing out content. And yeah, let's jump into making these cards. So I'm starting off with this Festive Swag layering stencil set that also has a coordinating wafer die. And I die cut my cardstock first because I thought that would be easier to line everything up, and I still think it is. There are etch lines. You can't really see it on screen, but there's etch lines on each stencil that has like the outline of the image or the size of the wafer die. So that's what I was lining up to make sure I had things lined up. And my die cuts are from Neenah Desert Storm Cardstock. So I die cut 4 pieces, and then I stuck them to one of my big grip mats to kind of hold them in place. And then I'm using Simon's Pawsitively Saturated inks to stencil over this. And I'm using PEARFECTION first. And since I've got everything lined up, and I'm only using one blending brush because I keep one green brush, for all my green inks. So if I'm doing something like this where I'm going to be using multiple shades of a color, so I'm going to use several different shades of green, I thought it was just easier to do all this first. So I did all the PEARFECTION, that one stencil. And then I just rub my brush on a microfiber cloth when I'm switching between different shades of the same color. So yeah, because I've talked about this a lot. I don't wash my brushes. Well, and I wouldn't, especially doing a project like this. Who's got time for that? It takes days for these things to dry. So anyway, I just rub them on a microfiber cloth. And I'm also working basically lightest to darkest. PEARFECTION was the lightest shade. That second shade of green I used was Artichoke. And then this final one is Pine. So if I'm doing something like this, I would start with my lightest shade, do everything I need to do, and then rub the brush on my microfiber cloth, and then go to the subsequent deeper colors. And that works. And this would work too if I was doing more than just these 4. If you die cut 50 of these, I would do it the exact same way and just do assembly line style. It's the same thing that I've shown many times and talked about. Tim Holtz calls it compartmental making. Same. And it just makes things easier, So I would do all of my die cutting in one step, and then, do each stencil layer in one step. And then that way it would go faster. And it's also kind of once you get the hang of it, again, this was super easy to line up. I'll have the colors listed, but the reds were watermelon and then cranberry. But yeah, once you get like a stencil set like that, like a layering stencil set, whatever it is you're doing, once you kind of have it figured out in your head, it's like, okay. And then you just do those steps and things just go. They just go. So then, after everything was stenciled, I used the white Christmas text background stamp. Oh, this is going to be a favorite. I love text background stamps. Always. They're another one of those ones where I would put like what I talk about, like geometric patterns and how they work for everything. Same thing with text backgrounds. Love them. And this one is so good. So I inked it up with Simon's white pigment ink and stamped it onto panels of black cardstock. I was thinking kind of almost like a blackboard sort of a look. Oh, love. And then I cleaned the stamp off. And while I had the stamp out, because I'm just using it face up on my desk here, you could put it in a stamp positioner. Either way works. But I've been doing this since the olden times when we didn't have stamp positioners. This is how we used our background stamps, man. When they were red rubber on wood blocks. Those massive background stamps. Remember those? Anyway, the technique still works, but whatever floats your boat. Anyway, my card bases are also Neenah Desert Storm cardstock, top folding A2, so 4¼ by 5½ inches. I'd put masking tape right at the score line so I didn't stamp past the score line, and then I'd inked up the stamp after I'd cleaned the white pigment ink off with cabbage ink. So I'll get that that text on the inside of the card, but that ink will soften a little bit and dry back, and it won't be too intense, so I can just write over it, because that's the name of the game for the insides of the cards. Could just leave it like that, but I wanted to add a sentiment from another set that's going to be a favorite. This is the Making Spirits Bright set from CC Design. I love Kathy's sentiment sets. I love all her stamp sets, but her sentiment sets, oh, they're so good. Her mix of fonts and just all the things. So I stamped one of the sentiments on the inside with Nocturne ink, and that finished off the insides of the cards. And then I adhered the black background panels to the card fronts with the Pawsitively Perfect craft glue. And then I adhered my little swags. You could pop things up with foam tape if you really wanted to build dimension with the swags. If I wanted them to be more dimensional, I probably wouldn't bother with foam tape. I'd probably just die cut more pieces and stack them just like how I would do sentiments. But I decided to keep everything somewhat flat-ish. So I adhered those with the craft glue, and then I just put my big acrylic blocks down just to hold things in place while I get the second card finished. So I wanted to get all of this adhered because of course I'm going to add splatter because, well, you guys know. So once I've got those adhered, I'm going to use the new Pawsitively Perfect white splatter medium. I showed this in my... Yeah, that's going to get posted before this one. Sorry, guys. I'm just mentally reminding myself what I'm doing. This came in the August 2025 card kit. This is also available separately from Simon Says Stamp. Thing you just got to remember with it is just stir it up every time before you're about to actually use it because, you know, pigments settle, that sort of a thing. So I stirred it up real good. And then I'm going to dip my fan brush in it. I've got my card base in my splat box here. And just add a healthy dose of splatter to these. And yeah, I'm really liking this stuff. It's just another option. This one, I mentioned this in the other video. It's a little less intense. Like, I don't consider it's like super opaque white, but I kind of like it, you know? It's, I don't know. I have a hard time like describing my feelings about it. I do genuinely like it. It's fun. Am I going to give up all my other forms of splatter? Heck no. You know, but the more the merrier. So after I was done my splattering, I set those aside to dry. And then I'm going to heat emboss another sentiment from the Making Spirits Bright set. I have a piece of Simon's Schoolhouse Red cardstock, and I used my anti-static powder tool on it. And then I stamped the sentiment with just the white pigment ink because it was sitting there, and then coated it with detail white embossing powder. And then I just used my die pick to remove some of those little stubborn pieces of embossing powder that were still clinging where they didn't belong. So just scrape those away before melting this with my heat tool. Once everything is smooth, you know, smooth, shiny, melted, I am going to use my other microfiber cloth. The pink one I use basically to clean my brushes off because I can see the ink on it. And so I use up a clean spot until the cloth is completely full of ink, and then it goes in the pile. I wash all my crafting cloths separately because I have like towels and cloths and all the things, and I don't want to stain my laundry. Anyway, I use the black ones from Simon for removing the excess anti-static powder. Just buffs away with the cloth, and then I die cut those sentiments with the coordinating wafer die. And then I'm going to pop these into place with Simon's Big Mama foam tape. So it'll just give them, again, just a little bit of dimension, nothing too crazy. And then once these are popped into place, I pulled out some cherry Pawsitively Dazzling gems, some red gems, to just finish this off. So very simple cards, really, and very somewhat traditional color combo. I've mentioned this. I love the non-traditional, but I also love doing like the red and green and that sort of thing too. It just depends on my mood. So after I pop the sentiments into place, I'm going to add some of these little gems just for that little extra bling. It would look really cute if you had like a ton. You would need a ton of tiny little gems to adhere those over like the little berries on the swag. I was thinking about that. I was like, that'd be really cute. Or when you're stenciling, use like a glitter paste over the little berries. That would look really cute too if you've got like the time and patience for it. So many options with this one. I'm gonna have to revisit it again because I had fun with this, and I like how it all just came together. I love layering stencils. It's a satisfaction thing, I think. Anyway, I placed a few gems on each of these cards, and then I just picked them up with my little embellishment wand and adhered them into place with the craft glue. Let that dry, and these cards are complete. So, like I mentioned in the intro, if you expand the description box below the video, all the supplies that I use will be listed and linked directly below, so you can check that out if you're interested. And then I'll have the link to the playlist and all that. That'll be at the end of this video. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me, for thumbs upping and commenting. Subscribe if you haven't. I'd love to have you. And I'll see you all very soon in the next video. Bye. Thank you so much to my amazing Patreon supporters. For anyone that might be interested in joining my Patreon community and supporting me, the link to my Patreon is in the description box below the video. For everyone else, as always, thank you all so much for taking the time to watch my videos, for thumbs upping, commenting, subscribe if you haven't. I'd love to have you. And here's a couple other videos for you to check out in case you missed them. Bye!